Settle for the details now because health authorities in the Greater Accra region are investigating a suspected case of food poisoning. Residents of Ayube who say some persons who ate the wache at the Bush Canteen Street have died. 5 other people who ate the food say they are now recovering after they were hospitalized. Although residents say they have friends who died after eating the food, health authorities say they are still investigating the matter. Maxwell Agbaba is there and joins us live. Maxwell, what can you report from where you are? Okay, it seems like we're having some technical challenges with Maxwell. We will get back to that story. But let's go to the Sene East District, where school activities for hundreds of people there have come to a halt after 8 people lost their lives while crossing the Volta Lake on their way to school. They were among 20 people on board a boat crossing the lake without life jackets from the Atigogome community to Wayokope. Since the incident happened, JoyNews understands that students have not been able to attend school. The DCE for Sene East, Jerome Kofi-Jema, spoke to my colleague Samuel Kojo-Brace.
Within these days, I've spoken to the Zoo Lion, the Echo Zoo, and they've promised us that they are going to look at that. There is a sizable one for the children. So they are going to look at that one so that they can help through assembly, then we'll be able to provide to the communities. We have a lot of communities that children crosses from one place to another before they can have access to school. That is why we still make a request that government institution agencies, and like your station, you can also put it upon yourself so that you make that request on our behalf. We'll be happy when Joy FM or any other media stations bring some of these things. And then let me also use this opportunity to reiterate our request that we made through the regional minister to education minister, that we have people who have been trained when it comes to education, Winneba, Jackson, and then the UCC, and they are in the house. They are used to our water. When you post them, then they will stay and teach. When it happens so, they will not be crossing over here and there. Even if you haven't gotten approval from the GES, you can have a neck, and those people will be in those communities to teach them. So the minister had made a promise that is going to be in talks with the GES and then the Ministry of Education so that we can get those people employed. Okay. So we want to also use your media to request that the government, through the Education Minister, should also have a second look at, because I have been in his office more than 3 times, and he knows me very well, requesting some of these names to be recruited. And I think this will be the opportunity for us to get them recruited and then post them to these areas and thereby averting this kind of predicament that we find ourselves.
Okay. So how many of these communities do we have that do not have schools and therefore would have to have people crossing the river to go to school?
We have more than 50 communities along the river. And then more than 22, you have to cross the river before you get to those communities. And then we have the small one, about 10 houses, 15 houses, 5 houses. That one is more than 50 that they have to cross to a particular place before they will be able to access education. So when it comes to Sene, let me give you the picture very well. When it comes to Sene East, when you get to where the incident happened, what they call Atigogome there. When you get there, then you are more or less under the Sene East because we have the forest, the Aduja forest. So we share a boundary with Sachafam Plain North and Sachafam Plain South. We have parts of our district given out to Eastern Region. These are across so and thereabout. We have given them to the Eastern Region, and they are part of us. Because of the distance and the nature of our water, we cannot be doing economical job. But when it comes to census, they have their information in our system. So that is the problem that we find ourselves. Okay. So these are issues that we are looking at so that we'll be able to check. Okay. But
the traditional authorities also demand for some specific items to pacify the gods. Listen to the DCE again.
Between them once again, so that we can actually talk to the parents.
Okay.
Already we had a discussion with them, and we are told that they are preparing to also purify the children so that they can actually go back to school.
So, in terms of the purification, do we know what it entails?
Much as I've been briefed by the traditional leaders, when we got earlier, we didn't know this issue. So later on that we were told that a man passed on the water and it was not purified, and hence the repercussion that we find ourselves. So once it has been purified, they need to also take the children through one of these things, and then they will get back to school.
Still on education, an average of 10 schoolgirls get pregnant in a single term at Adidome SHS. That's according to the senior house mistress of the school. Shika is one of them. She had gone to the hospital to donate blood to a sick relative, only to be hit by the news that she was pregnant. But her current circumstances are not stopping her from accessing education. Joy Prime's latest documentary, Classroom Mothers, produced by Emmanuel Jivanu, explores the startling figures of pregnancy in senior high schools. But before we play that documentary, go to Oyibi, where some health authorities are worried about a situation, investigating a situation, an alleged food poisoning situation. Maxwell, please give us the details.
Sure, Max. So we are here at the Watcher spot called the Yellow CC Special Omotuo and Wache. And this is very close to the Bush Canton Street here on the Oyibi Dodowa Road, where a lot of residents of Oyibi usually get their Wache. So on a normal day, on a regular day, when you come here, you find a long winding queue with scores of people waiting to buy Wache from this joint. But the seller here is not here today, is not selling today because of what has happened to many of the people who ate the Wache here in this community some days ago. We've been speaking to some of the residents, and they tell me that they have friends. Some of them say they've lost family members and the Wache. So, speaking to the residents here, they give us a figure of eating the rice and beans, popularly known as Wache. We have also been speaking to health authorities, interacting with them to find out whether they can confirm the figure of 5 that we're getting from the residents. The health authorities tell us that indeed they've received the report, investigations are underway, but they cannot confirm the figure of 5 because they would have to speak to various health facilities that received some of the people, some of the residents who reported with stomach ache and diarrhea. They tell us that until they do that, they will not be able to confirm the cases of death. But right here, just behind this house here, we're told, the landlord, where the woman, Yellow CC, actually sells her Wache, also ate the Wache that early morning, but after eating the Wache also complained of stomach ache and then was taken to the hospital, died later. That is the information that we are getting from the people here. So in this house right now, you find the wife of the landlord, you find her wearing black clothes. Many of the family members are also here mourning the death of the
That's Maxwell Ababa giving us a report. We understand he's been speaking to some residents. Let's see if we can get to that. All right, it seems like we are having some connectivity issues, but we will be getting you those accounts, those witnesses right now.
I heard the wache, what came? The woman is innocent. We don't know what came, and this thing happened.
How are you feeling now? There's a gentleman.
All right, so that is Maxwell Agbabai there, and we'll be getting those accounts. We understand that health authorities are investigating the matter, so do stay to the JoyNews channel. We will be bringing you more of that at 3 p.m. on the Pulse. But minority MPs are putting behind the deep cracks within their party to continue what they say is their oversight responsibility. NEC MPs on the Health Committee are touring sites of the Agenda 111 hospitals government promised to complete by 2024. The tour was suspended following the removal of Minority Leader Haruna Jesu, which has set the NDC on fire. The MPs are in the Oti region, and Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante is with them and joins us with details. Kweku, where exactly have you been, and what's the state of affairs?
We've been at Jasikan in the Oti region where we have toured one particular site. The site is bare. I've sent videos. You'd see that the land is bare. Not much has been done on the land in terms of building, in terms of infrastructure wise. It is similar, the story, for almost all other places. I have with me Kwabena Minta Akando. He's the ranking member on the health committee. He's been touring these places with some members of the committee to ascertain the work that has been done. Honorable, you are ending this tour today for now. We've gone to a number of sites. What are your impressions of the work you've seen done so far?
Yes, so far, just like you have all seen, it's quite disheartening that almost all the sites that we have visited, you don't see any work going on there. Now, per the records available to us, each and every one of these sites have been given mobilization of not less than $1 million. For example, Jasikan, for example, they've been given about 1.2 million US dollars, which is more than 15 million Ghana cedis. But the only thing that convinced me that that particular site was for Agenda 111 was a signboard. Nobody would have convinced me that that place is not a football park. If you take government money for more than 1 year and you are not, working, what kind of project is this? Because don't forget that this Agenda 111 project was brought under the presidency. So one would have expected that the seriousness and the due diligence would have been higher than any other project. But unfortunately, nothing actually is being done on this site. Again, one thing that is also very important and Ghanaians must know is that during the beginning of this Agenda 111, when they cut sword, the president said that we're going to use 12 to 18 months to complete these projects. Later last year, he said that they were going to complete this project before 2024. Now, per the records from the Agenda 111, that cannot be true because only 20% can be completed before 2024. And even with that 20%, they require
20% of 101 hospitals,
exactly,
the 6 specialized hospitals.
Exactly. And that even with that, they require not less than $300 million. How much are we seeking to build a cathedral? They require $300 million for the 20%. Now, in their own records, they are saying that Agenda 111 will go beyond 2027. So they have set out to leave a lot of uncompleted sites for future government to come and complete.
But government is a continuum, they would say.
Course,
if they can't finish, you will continue.
So. Don't come and create the impression that you are going to finish this project in before 2024. If you think that you are starting something, but somebody will come and continue, say so that we'll all be on the same page. But unfortunately, what we have seen is bizarre, it's quite disheartening. The people are very angry. Jessica here, when we spoke to the chief.
And the chief has been saying that government seem to be politicizing this and that elsewhere the project is fast going up, but here there's nothing going on. Do you sense something like that? On this tour, you've said that maybe there are some big wigs within the NPP who may have gone behind this contractor to take this money. How do you reconcile these two?
Yes, I am tempted to believe in that particular position because we have every project, we have people who are supposed to do monitoring. So if you give money to a contractor for more than a year and the contractor is on site and you have a monitoring unit and you're not saying anything, then you are accomplice. Because don't forget that this project is under the Ministry of Health. Meanwhile, we have a whole unit under the Ministry of Health who are supposed to supervise such projects. Now, Agenda 111 is a whole secretariat with land cruisers. A whole bureaucracy has been set up. So if they have not given the money to the contractors and gone back to take the money themselves, what are they doing to the contractors who have taken the money on record? You understand? And so for me, I agree with the chief that we should not politicize anything when it comes to development, because they are part of Ghana. They pay taxes, as the chief said. And so when it comes to, look, during the exile John Mahama regime, go to the Ashanti region. But everybody will attest to the fact that we don't win our seeds from the Ashanti region. But a lot of projects were done. That is a mark of a good leader.
The KGT market and all that.
So,
exactly. What would you be seeking to do when you return to Parliament with all that you've seen at the various sites, some of them literally empty, no contractor on site? What pressure are you going to bring to bear on government to get them to complete these projects?
Yes, so there are a lot of tools available to us. Number one, we are responsible, we are accountable to the good people of this country. Like what we are doing, the good people of this country, we know the truth. Number two, we can file questions, we can write statements, we can invite the minister responsible. But you see, one interesting thing is that even when you go to the ministry for any information on Agenda 111, they will tell you they have no information. The typical example is Joy FM, JoyNews. They wrote to the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Health wrote back to them that they don't have any information on Agenda 111 because the process is opaque. How do you give money to somebody without the completion of documentations? No approval from PPA. In their own document, they say that contractors have been given mobilization a year ago, and yet no approval from PPA has been received. And so it's a very worrying development, especially when we hear that part of the monies from the COVID fund was pumped into this project. They are sharing the money like granite, roasted granite. And that's quite disheartening, my brother.
And that's quite disheartening. And you'll be holding COVID hearings from the 7th of February when you resume. You know, I can't let you go without speaking about all that is happening in the minority. Not necessarily to go that deep because you may not want to comment. But do you think you'll be able to come out of this?
Why not? I believe sincerely that we are going to come out stronger. I mean, these things are expected, and I believe that our leaders are capable of handling this matter. We are going to come out stronger and concentrate on what we are doing to hold government's legs feet to the fire, to make sure that the development the people need will be served, to make sure that the hardship we are going through, we put government in check. These are the issues. I mean, some of the damning revelations from the Auditor General's report will have to go. And we think that it is even the tip of the iceberg. It is even the tip of the iceberg.
And your committee's work will now expose more of that.
Yes. And I'll give you an example. For example, last year, Kweku, you yourself, you heard the country director for World Bank saying that they had released not less than $903 million to Ghana. Now, in the Auditor General's report, only 430 has been accounted for. You understand? Germany gave us money. Where is it in the Auditor General's report? Korea gave us money. Some of this money, part of the money was a grant. Where is it in it? Why do we have to use agenda, COVID money to go and buy extra ambulances? Where we've committed money and it's not been brought. Right. A lot of things, and so it is just the tip of the iceberg, and that is what we are going to concentrate on. As for this one, it's an internal issue, and we'll come out strongly.
Right. So I've been speaking with Kwabena Mintakando, he's ranking member on the Health Committee. They've been touring Agenda 111 sites. I tried to sneak in a question regarding the Muntaka Haruna Atoforsen Agboja issue. He says this is an internal matter that they are going to deal with, but of course you can see that, you can feel that also in the air with MPs now touring Agenda 111. We are ending about the first part of this tour. We've gone to several sites, Mapitso, and some of the land is bare. There's no contractor on site. There's no work going on. There are no workmen on there. And as you've been hearing Kwabena Mintakando say, they're going to hold government feet to the fire until they deliver on this promise.
Correspondent Kweku Asante there with all the updates. We'll be getting more updates from him in our subsequent bulletin. But let's go to the Ashanti region, where transit and truck drivers are being sensitized on road use, and Axle and police and customs rules in Ghana and the West African sub-region. The Ghana Road Transport Governance Project aims to improve the sustainability and security of the regional road transport system. It is implemented by the Ministry of Roads and Highways with the funding from the European Union. Nana Bwachiyadum has more in this report.
The partner agencies and transport sector operators have been working together for the past 2 years to reduce road transport costs and reinforce compliance with road regulations. The transit and truck drivers are engaged in the harmonization and simplification of transport regulations. Chief Engineer at the Policy Planning Department of the Ministry of Roads and Highways, Ms. Ifwa Ifa, says the European Union assistance comes at the best time to support the update of the driver's regulatory guide.
The European Union Technical Assistance on Transport Governance Program came in good time to support this much-needed update of the driver's guide. The overall objective of this EU project is to improve the sustainability and security of the regional road transport system. The components of the project are construction of a new weighbridge station on the Tema Beach Road, needs assessment of the Ghanaian road network, technical and economic analysis of identified maintenance scenarios, capacity building for project management, development of a pricing model for transport services, and support for the sensitization program of the NFC. And it is under this support for the NFC that this driver's guide has been updated and being distributed to all stakeholders.
She highlighted the benefits the updated driver's regulatory guide would have on road transport.
As Ghana commits to deepen its role in regional transit and integration, road transport will continue to play a major role. As such, this driver's guide, which aids in the safe and efficient use of road corridors, is an essential resource. This workshop will have presentations that provides the details of what has been summarized in this driver's guide, and I will kindly entreat you to actively participate in this workshop.
Chairman of the Holy Transport Drivers and Training Center, Alhaji Yakubu Abdullahi, said the workshop would help enhance the knowledge of transport operators on road usage.
We are here to educate our drivers to know their rights, the right of the driver and the right of the police. A policeman who is supposed to take a license from a driver from the rank of inspector upwards, and he should give the driver a certified receipt so that the driver, in case, wherever he can trace him and find.
From Kumasi, Nana Bwachiyadum reporting for JoyNews.
Let's head over to Germany, where the German government has just presented a new Africa policy. Why was that necessary?
Well, the major reason, I guess, is that we simply have a new government in Germany for the past year. It's a more left-leaning government, and it wanted to revise the policy of its more conservative predecessor government. So this new policy places less emphasis on business matters and stresses more, for instance, what it calls a feminist policy, the attempt to promote women and to respect the interests and the role of women in society, and also aspects such as climate change, carbon neutrality and so on. All of these matters become more important. But also there are significant economic interests that play a role here. Germany recently disconnected itself from its major energy supplier, that was Russia, and it's now looking for new sources of energy, and Africa is a very promising market there, or rather a promising supplier, because Africa could supply a lot of clean energy, mainly solar power energy, but also hydroelectric and wind power, and it could help in producing clean hydrogen, which Germany really is looking for. And then there are questions such as raw materials, which could come from Africa, and also agricultural supplies from Africa, so significant economic interests as well.
What role do rivalries with other big international actors play, such as China and Russia?
Yes, I think here we need to mention especially China, which is regarded as having a major footprint in Africa, having established this in the last 10 years or so with its huge infrastructure projects, especially in rails and roads, but it also controls large parts of, significant parts of raw materials, of mining and so on in Africa. Germany feels that Chinese cooperation with African countries is not really on an equal footing. In Germany, one would describe this cooperation as fairly one-sided and as having given African countries money, basically, and led them into further debt. What Germany is offering is, it hopes for more equal partnership. It says that it wants to listen to African voices, wants to help African countries to get out of debt and to have a more just transition is the word they use. In other words, to improve their economies in a way that is more long-lasting in terms of climate change, for instance, but also such issues as the role of women or social justice.
Now, some African commentators have welcomed help from China because it has very few strings attached, while help from the West is regarded as a neo-colonial in its insistence on human rights, for instance, or good governance. Now, does German help have some strings attached?
The German policy says that Germany wants to be a lot more attentive to issues of colonialism and neo-colonialism, that it wants to listen more carefully to what African critics have to say on this score. In other words, it wants to respect this criticism and in its cooperation make sure that these issues are dealt with. At the same time, it is saying that it would like to see its cooperation more in the framework of international organizations or of multilateral organizations, for instance, in cooperation between the European Union and the African Union, or in initiatives taken by the G20 group of countries, or within the United Nations or the World Bank. At the same time, one has to say that these kinds of strings continue to be attached to German aid. There is still an insistence on good governance, on human rights, and Germany does say that it is not likely to cooperate closely with autocratic governments in Africa.
Now, Africa has a very young population that is also growing rapidly. How does that influence German Africa policy? Would you prefer only 3 questions?
That's seen both as an asset and as a problem, one has to say. As an asset in the sense that if Africa grows, if the young population in Africa gets educated well, stays in home countries and participates to the growth of those countries, then Africa could turn into a significant market for products from around the world, also from Europe, could be an economic powerhouse in many ways. On the other hand, at the moment, the situation is such that many youth in Africa do not have very good prospects in their own countries. That drives them into the hands of terrorist groups or makes them think about going to faraway places such as Europe to look for a better life. The hope would be that by helping African youth to improve their lives within their own countries or within the continent, these kind of movements towards terrorist groups or illegal migration to Europe could be in some sense stopped.
Okay, thank you very much for that. You're still watching JoyNews today. Up next is business.
Hello, welcome to the business segment on JoyNews today with me, Pius Kojobaka. Vice President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Clement Boateng, has reiterated the frustration of the trading community over the rejection of transactional values presented by importers by the custom officials at the ports. According to him, the situation is breeding mistrust among stakeholders at the port and adding on to the high cost of doing business there. In an interview with Joy Business, he appealed to the Customs Commissioner of the Ghana Revenue Authority to intervene, solving the challenges.
Our major problem that I would say we have had with them, has been on the issue of accepting a transaction values, because according to WTO convention, that is what customs is supposed to use in terms of valuation and then classification of goods. But many a times our values, are not accepted, and then they have their own means of classification and valuation. So going into 2023, these are some of the areas that we expect them to consider by accepting our transactional values. If you accept transactional values, I would say compliance level will then be high, and then they will be able to achieve much of their revenue, and even get more, as they rightly said, that even last year they were even able to achieve their target and even they had excess. So I would say if they also adopt the transactional values that we always present, I'm sure that you will even get much of their revenue.
But have you engaged them on this transactional?
Yes, we have engaged them. We have engaged them, but to be frank, I would say we don't know the reasons why oftentimes they don't want to accept transactional values, and that always they want to come up with their own values. Because if you give them even the transactional values, definitely they will uplift. They have a term which they call upliftment. Whatever values that you give them, they will try as much as possible to uplift them, which means they doubt,
trust
the
issues.
values. Yes, they doubt the values, and those are the areas that we want to have a collaboration with them. That they should have trust in us, because we are their partners. Without them, we are not there. Without we also, they are also not there. So that trust, must be established, so that whatever values that we present, it must be accepted.
Now, access to finance has been identified as the major factor holding back cashew stakeholders from added value to their products. Managing Director of the African Cashew Alliance, Ernest Minta, however, believes the industry players would have to explore more means to bring on board financial institutions to enable them to understand the potential of the sector and invest in it. He spoke to Joy Business at the Cashew Master Training Program in the Bono Regional Capital of Sunyani. Precious Semevo has more.
The Cashew Master Training Program, Edition 15, Session 1 in Sunyani, brought together 85 participants from 7 countries in Africa, including Ghana, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, and Sierra Leone. The week's session, organized by the African Cashew Alliance, ACA, in partnership with GIZ and other stakeholders, is to build the capacity of professionals along the cashew value chain to facilitate knowledge exchange, learning, and innovations within the sector in Africa. Africa is only able to process about 5.5% of its produced cashew. The managing director of ACA, Ernest Minta, said the injection of financial support into the sector would help add more value to the yields and create more jobs for more people.
The issues there with value addition are access to finance. So we have to find out ways of onboarding financial institutions to understand the sector, to also be able to appreciate what risk is in the sector and be able to transform that into returns, and as a result invest more in the sector. But again, it is to attract foreign investment. Today you find that the cashew is produced in Africa, sent to Vietnam for processing, and then from Vietnam it goes back to US and Europe for consumption. But again, you also realize that if you take Vietnam and India, particularly India, they have been processing for over 100 years. So the technology, the expertise, the knowledge, everything is there already. So we also are looking at attracting the right technology onto the continent, and then be able to process cost effectively and efficiently, and also serve the markets that are near us rather than exporting.
To be globally competitive and secure profitability for cashew actors in Africa, the team leader of GIZ Move, Rita Weidenga, believes requires broader engagement.
The market-oriented value chain for jobs and growth in the ECOWAS region MOVE project places emphasis on capacity development activities such as this one. We strongly believe that this cashew sector can only become globally competitive if women and men are jointly engaged.
Bono Regional Minister Justina Osu-Banahene said concerted efforts are needed to drive the growth of the cashew sector.
For the cashew industry to continue to grow, issues of policy research and extension will have to be coordinated in a concerted manner to deliver the right mix of technologies and enabling environment for the sustenance of the industry. With discipline, commitment, observation of social cultural practices, our dream to turn around our world with cashew is very possible and feasible.
Precious Semevo, Joy Business, Sunyai.